Are we really expecting David Fry and Stephen Kwan to keep up a 163 and 169 OPS plus? But it's really weird how they're scoring their runs, and I'll explain that in a second. All right, here's the deal. The Guardians are one of the best teams in baseball, and tiny part of me might think they're a little bit fraudulent. But I don't know. I keep going back and forth. Okay, so let me just tell you where my mind's at. So they're fifth. The Guardians are fifth in runs per game. They are sixth in overall runs. They're averaging around 5 runs a game, which is really good. They got Stephen Kwan and David Fry, who has randomly turned into Manny Ramirez overnight. And Stephen Kwan is having like a career year kind of out of nowhere. He's batting .360. He has as many walks as he does strikeouts. I didn't know that. That's crazy. But the two real boppers on their team are Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor, of course. We know that. But they have 5 really solid hitters. But it's really weird how they're scoring their runs. And I'll explain that in a second. They're not one of those teams that is faring well in expected statistics. You can see the Yankees, Dodgers, Orioles are at the top, which is expected. This is expected weighted on base. And the Guardians are at 20th. So that doesn't scream top 5 offense. And then you take a look at their runners in scoring position numbers. And this is where they're doing the most damage. They have the highest weighted on base average out of any team in MLB with runners in scoring position. And I'm going to go back to this first list because this is kind of a crazy stat. So the Dodgers, who have the best offense in baseball, are one of the best. They have the most runners left on base. You want to leave. Obviously, you don't want to leave guys on base, but you want to have guys to leave on base, if that makes sense. So the Guardians are dead last or I guess first in Major League Baseball in runners left on base at 492, and like that's really weird because you take a look at these other teams. Miami Marlins, they're a terrible offense. They're probably the worst team in baseball, or at least one of them. The Reds, not a very good offense. Look at all of these teams here. All of these teams have below average offenses, and then except for the Guardians at 107. They're number 1 in WOBA, but if you sort by expected weighted on base, they are 18th. So even though they are technically the best team when it comes to driving runners in, StatCast is saying that it's a little bit overrated. And I was trying to figure out why this was the case, and I think I figured it out. Why? Okay. How do I explain this? Let me just get into it. The Guardians are 5th in baseball in terms of home runs with runners in scoring position. So you can imagine they're doing a really good job of getting runners in because they're hitting a lot of home runs when they have guys in. So they're at 361 weighted on base, and they're at 316 expected weighted on base. And I believe this is the reason. If you look at all the home runs that have been hit with runners in scoring position, obviously the weighted on base is going to be the same for everybody. But the Guardians are dead last in expected weighted on base. So my natural reaction was to go, okay, whatever reason, every other team has an expected weighted on base over 1,000, and the Guardians are the only team that doesn't. Like, how does that happen? And so my first thought was to kind of look at the home runs that they've hit, and I was like, okay, so maybe the home runs they've hit wouldn't be home runs in other parks. And that's just really not true. I mean, they have one here where Josh Naylor hit a ball. He hit a ball here that would only be a home run in one park. This would be the only one. But if you look at the other ones, the tying run scored. It's not really the case. Like even the ones that were hit 11 runs not very far. This is 19 out of 30.
Drill deep right.
28 out of 30. I went to the spray heat map, so it shows you like where they're hitting their home runs, and this is really all I can think of. I'm guessing that StatCast is assuming that a lot of these hits are doubles. So because they're like pulling all these pitches, like if you just move these balls to like center and left center and right center, they wouldn't all be home runs. So that's like, I mean, that's really all I can think of. If we go to the, I guess Pittsburgh has the highest, you know, their home runs are the most home run-ish, I guess. I don't know. But let's see what their spray chart. Yeah. So if you look at, holy crap, look at this one. You can see that they hit a lot. They're hitting home runs to dead center. They're hitting them to way right center. They're not really yanking them down the lines as much as the Guardians are. Let's see, like, I don't know, Atlanta. Yeah. I mean, they kind of have more gap power as well. This is really just all to say the Guardians are still a very good team, but in the second half, I would be really surprised if they were able to continue to score this many runs. And here's why. They really have two home run hitters, Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez. They don't steal a lot of bases either. So it's not like you would think, oh, you know, they're all just getting on base and they're all, you know, they all can run. They all can make it happen on the bases. It's not really the case. If Jose Ramirez or Josh Naylor goes down, they don't have any power. Are we really expecting David Fry and Stephen Kwan to keep up a 163 and 169 OPS plus? I don't think you can ask that from them. Stephen Kwan is hitting 360. Is he really going to keep that up for the rest of the year? Okay, so they're 53 and 30. They're still 6 games up on the Twins, so they don't have to be amazing in the second half. Bybee's good. Everyone else kind of sucks. Their bullpen's really good. Shocker. The Guardians have a really good bullpen, but it looks, I mean, they really only have one good pitcher. I don't know. I'm not a gambler, but if you can bet on the under for a second half for a team, I would bet that the Guardians kind of regress a little bit.